The monotony of everyday life had become suffocating, each day bleeding into the next with indistinguishable repetition. It was during one of those listless evenings, scrolling through photos of mountainous landscapes and untamed forests, that the impulse struck me, a craving for the wild, for a taste of adventure that could stir my stagnant soul. Without a second thought, I threw my camping gear into the back of my car and drove off into the heart of Colorado, guided by the promise of solitude and the thrill of the unknown. The journey led me deeper into the wilderness than I had ever ventured before. As civilization faded away in my rearview mirror, replaced by the towering embrace of the Rockies, a sense of freedom washed over me. It was exhilarating, the kind of feeling you read about in novels or see in movies, where the protagonist embarks on a journey of self-discovery. I arrived at the secluded spot by late afternoon, the sun casting long shadows through the dense canopy of pines. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of earth and pine, a natural balm for the soul. I set up camp in a small clearing, the silence around me a stark contrast to the constant buzz of the city. It was just me and nature, in a place so peaceful I could almost hear my own thoughts echoing back at me. As I gathered wood for the fire, the tranquility was suddenly pierced by a sound that seemed out of place. A voice, distant but unmistakable. Curiosity piqued, I followed the sound, treading lightly on the carpet of fallen leaves. The source of the voice became apparent as I approached a nearby thicket. A man, ragged and unkempt, was pacing back and forth, engaged in a fervent dialogue with the air. His words were a jumble of incoherence, punctuated by sharp gesticulations. "Is everything all right?" I called out, my voice breaking the silence like a stone through glass. He stopped mid-pace, turning towards me with wide, startled eyes. For a moment, he seemed to appraise me, his gaze piercing. Yes, fine, just fine," he muttered, more to himself than to me. "The trees, they listen better than people, you see." His words sent a chill down my spine, an instinctual warning. "Right. Well, if you need anything, I'm just over there," I said, gesturing vaguely back towards my camp. He nodded, but his attention had already drifted back to his unseen audience, his murmurs resuming with renewed vigor. I returned to my campsite, unsettled by the encounter. The wilderness, I reminded myself, was full of eccentrics and loners, each with their own reasons for seeking the solace of nature. Yet as the sun dipped below the horizon and the forest cloaked itself in darkness, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled over me. The man's presence, so close to my secluded retreat, cast a shadow over the serenity I had sought. That night, as I sat by the fire, the crackling flames a small comfort against the enveloping dark, I couldn't help but feel watched. The vast, wild expanse of the Colorado wilderness, once a beckoning promise of peace, now felt like a vast, unknowable entity, hiding secrets in its shadows. The night descended upon the campsite with a swift chill, transforming the once inviting clearing into a scene straight out of a ghost story. The fire I had meticulously built offered a small circle of light against the encroaching darkness, but beyond its reach, the night seemed to consume everything, making the woods feel alive with unseen watchers. I tried to distract myself with the routine tasks of camping, checking the tent, securing food away from potential wildlife, and stoking the fire. Yet the eerie encounter from earlier lingered in my mind, casting a pall over the evening. I couldn't shake the image of the man talking to himself, his words a tangled mess of fervor and madness. As I settled by the fire, attempting to lose myself in the pages of a book I'd brought along, a sudden rustling noise from the edge of the campsite snapped my attention away from the written word. My heart raced as I strained my ears, listening. The forest was alive with the natural sounds of the night, but this was different, purposeful, deliberate. Then he stepped into the light of the fire, the same peculiar man from earlier. The illumination cast strange shadows across his face, accentuating the wild look in his eyes, and the unsettling grin that seemed to know secrets I dared not imagine. "Beautiful night, isn't it?" he said, his voice disturbingly calm and eerily out of place in the silence of the wilderness. I stiffened, my hand inching toward the pistol I'd packed, just in case. "It was until now," I replied, my voice betraying a hint of my apprehension. "I thought I made it clear earlier that I wanted to be left alone." He took a step closer, the grin never leaving his face. "Oh, but the night is when the forest truly comes alive. You can hear it, can't you? The whispers, the secrets it holds." His words sent a shiver down my spine, the underlying threat in his tone unmistakable. "I'm not interested in whatever you're trying to sell. Leave, now," I said, my voice firmer this time, as I revealed the pistol, not pointing it at him, but making sure he saw it. His eyes flicked to the gun, then back to mine, the grin widening. "Ah, I see. Prepared for all eventualities, are we?" "This is your last warning," I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. For a moment it seemed as if he would advance, challenge my resolve. But then, as quickly as the mood had shifted, it lightened, his posture relaxing as he took a step back. "Very well. The forest is vast, and there are other secrets to uncover tonight." With that, he turned and disappeared into the darkness, leaving me alone with the crackling fire and a racing heart. I didn't dare move until the first light of dawn began to pierce the night sky. Only then did I hastily pack up my camp, eager to put as much distance between myself and that place as possible. As I drove away from the campsite, the encounter replayed in my mind, a haunting reminder of the unpredictability of the wilderness and the strange characters it harbored. I knew I would return to the wild again, the call too strong to resist, but I would never forget the unwelcome visitor and the night the forest whispered its dark secrets.